Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Van joined alongside Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan?
Doing well, Kev. How are you?
I'm doing good. We've been off for a week, but we're back to talk about Pokemon.
Oh, wow, we are.
That- that's that's what we're doing here.
Uh-huh.
That is the
Yeah.
main thing going on in
Real
this
quick,
show.
I'll say I'm very excited that Sonic Frontiers got a DLC roadmap this week.
Oh, it did.
I'm
That's right.
really excited
Free
about that. Yeah.
DLC
Free DLC with more challenges and just some like extra content, but then there was more playable
celebrating
characters
Sonic's
and story
birthday
content. Yeah, that's
somewhere.
in there. But I'm super excited about the more story content and playable characters. Um, yeah, it's going to be cool.
Do you see very many areas in the game where they could go off? Would it be like after credits? Do you see some spots that they could kind of scooch it in the middle?
I don't know. They could just maybe add like more bosses to the islands or something like that, or more cyberspace levels just show up. Yeah, I don't know because the islands are pretty populated, so I'm not sure what the more content is going to be unless it's like separate from the main islands. I don't know. We'll
If it's
see, but
another island or something, I don't know.
any excuse to play more of that game. I'm still putting off platinuming it just because of how much I like it. Like I just want it to last forever, so I still haven't
I mean, it
platinumed
it
it.
seems like there's enough things on the map where it
Yeah,
probably will last for a very long time.
yeah. I'm still clearing the map. Area by area. It's fun though. But we're here to talk about a different open world game.
Here we go. Let's talk about Pokemon. First thing I'm gonna ask: one, is it good? And two, after Legends Arceus, does it kind of continue along that trend? Does it fall on its face? Where is this? Where is Scarlet and Violet at?
I like Legends Arceus way, way more than this game. I guess we'll start there. I like
Okay.
it significantly more in most ways. Um, I I've had a weird journey with this game. I think over the last almost 2 weeks now. I For starters, I'm playing it with my girlfriend. It's her first Pokemon game she's ever played, and I'm playing Scarlet. She's playing Violet. We got the double pack, and so that alone, I'm having more fun than I think I would if I was just playing this alone. Like, I think if I was playing this
Right.
alone, I'd be like pretty on it, but playing it with somebody and then we're catching things, showing each other what we find, going off in different directions. We're playing in the wireless multiplayer, the local wireless, which actually works very, very
Oh,
well.
okay.
I've heard that the online works terribly, like if you try to connect far away, but playing
To be
via
expected.
local wireless works really well. It's a lot of fun to just be in the same world. There's a little activity feed in the top right when you're connected that says like, "Oh, so and so caught a Pikachu, caught a Marill, caught a Psyduck," and it's fun and we're like seeing what each other are catching while we're going, and you can be anywhere in the open world in multiplayer. I could be in the top
Okay.
left corner, she could be in the bottom right corner, and you're in the same world. It does not matter. You can complete every story objective while you're in the same world as someone. You'll just see like their character like just disappear from the map, and then like if they're in a cutscene, and then they'll just show back up. Like their character model will
Okay.
just reappear when it's over. That's all pretty seamless. And for how broken a lot of things in this game are, I'm very surprised that that's something that actually works. So that has been a pleasant surprise, but like I said, I've heard the online does not work very well at all. But the local wireless works. I really loved the first 5 to 10 hours of this game because it's the introduction. Pokemon are in the overworld as they are in Arceus, and that makes just a big difference in the drive to catch them, right? Like you see them and you actually want to catch them. Where in previous games to complete the Pokedex, you'd have to just roam around the tall grass till you enter this random encounter. But now you can see it. You can see, I don't have that yet. Let me get into a quick battle and catch it. I do miss the catching mechanics because it is not as fun to have to throw out your Pokemon, get the health down, and throw the Pokeball, watch it shake 3 times. Like that's all as it's always been. And I do miss the catching mechanics, but I have caught like 200 Pokemon, which is more than I've ever caught in a mainline game besides Arceus because I'm just enjoying the catching mechanics. And then there's the open world, which you get to a little bit into the game, and I really liked it at first. But after I completed, I'll say two gyms, one of the Titans and one of the Starfall bases, I plowed through the next six because of how over leveled I was just from doing those. There is no level scaling. The open world progression is pretty broken because if I don't even fight trainers, right, Kev? I just catch wild Pokemon, do the gym battles, do the team bases, and do the Titan Pokemon. I do like the bare minimum that's required, plus catching wild Pokemon, and I'm severely over leveled for a large number of the overworld objectives. Like the open world's just a little bit broken, which is one of my fears. You know the Titan Pokemon? Like you saw the giant crab in
The
one of the
crab dude,
trailers.
yeah.
Well, there's five of those. I one shot two of them because of how over leveled I was. And like I'm just steamrolling through the back half of this game because I take my time catching things, which gives your all six Pokemon in your party experience,
Right,
right?
that
Because the
happens now.
EXP
Yeah.
share. And you're just so over leveled and there's no level scaling. So in the beginning, I'm like, wow, the open world is cool. It's a cool idea. My girlfriend went to a gym battle while I went to a Titan and we were doing different things, but we had played the game for the exact same amount of time. And that was a cool experience to have in Pokemon. But then, kind of when you pass that, I'd say double digit hour mark, you're like, oh, I'm severely overpowered for everything this game is throwing at me.
Do you think that's just because you've been catching more Pokemon than you did in past games? Is that it? Or are you given way too much experience for just some of the objectives that you need to do along these story paths?
Yeah, that's a problem. And then I talked about this, I think, in Sword and Shield also. It has the Terra Raid battles where you do a multiplayer four-player fight against a terastalized Pokemon, and then after you catch it, it rewards you with EXP candies and rare candies. Sword and Shield did the same thing in the wild area with its Dynamax raid battles. And I've been using them because why not? I kind of regret it now because I'm super OP. But yeah, I just did a few of those, not an obscene amount of them, and you're just super over leveled really, really quickly. So that's a shame because in the early hours of this game, it's some of the most challenging fights in a mainline Pokemon game in a very, very long time. Because there are Pokemon you can choose to take on that you're not ready for, and it's fun to try and take them down. And then there's there's some Pokemon in the overworld that are glowing, and it means they have a special Terra type separate from their own type, right? So you can get like a flying Terra type Pikachu, and those fights are super hard. Like they have more health, they hit harder, even if their level is lower. They're just like supercharged in these fights. It's like the red-eyed Pokemon from Arceus. I don't remember what those were called, but the red-eyed ones that roamed the overworlds that were
Right.
tougher to take down. It's like that, and it works, and it's fun. But then like the gym battles are a joke because they're using like three Pokemon that are like level 20, and I have like four Pokemon that are level 45, and it's
Oh
like,
my
wow.
god.
Yeah, it's just kind of a joke. So yeah, I liked my first half. I'm about 20 hours in. I liked my first 10 a lot more than I liked the second 10.
Where are you at in the game now in terms of progression?
I've completed there's 18 objectives, which I think is smart because there's 18 types in Pokemon. So there's the 8 gyms and then there's 5 team star bases and 5 Titan Pokemon. So and each one of those objectives is about a different type, right? Like you have the gyms are the 8 types like they always are, 8 different types, and then the team star leaders all have a different type, and then the Titans are all a different type. So you get the whole experience. I have done 5 gyms, 4 Titans, and 2 bases. So I'm 11 out of 18 done with the main objectives.
Okay.
And
So a
I
little more than
think that
half.
my Pokemon are at a high enough level where I could get the rest without just beeline. I could
by
just
just
beeline
by
between
pressing
gyms.
A.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like kind of my main takeaway from this game, Kev, is like compared to Arceus, which came out 10 months ago,
Jeez.
and this, I just feel like Pokemon in 2022 to me proved that gotta catch 'em all is better than I want to be the very best, right? Those are the two lines from the theme song, and it's like that drive to complete the Pokedex in Arceus and the exploration and discovery and there's not very many battles in that game. There's just not. And some of the like the boss fights are like real-time action fights that your level doesn't matter. It's just about the action. And then this, which is this open world that doesn't really always work, but it's still pretty much a basic Pokemon game. It's like I just much prefer the setup of Arceus to this. And it's hard to not compare the two because they did both just come out this year.
Yeah, crazy that both of these games. I
Yeah.
forget that Arceus came out this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of think that was last year, but I'm like, oh wait, no. Diamond and Pearl came out
Diamond and
last
Pearl. Yeah.
year.
Mhm.
Oh,
I feel like I've been really I've sounded pretty negative so far. I do want to say I like this game. I do like it. I like it more than any game since the DS era. I like it more than X
besides
and
Arceus.
Y.
Yeah.
Besides Arceus, yeah, yeah. I like it more than X and Y, more than Alpha Sapphire, more than Sun and Moon. I skipped Ultra Sun and Moon and more than Sword and Shield, and I didn't play Let's Go. Um, and I also didn't play the Diamond Pearl remakes.
I
But
played them. They're not great.
I like this more than anything since Black and White. Black and White 2, I guess. I never really finished that one. I think that it is an ambitious game, right? Like it is trying this new open world approach, and I do commend them for that. It's just so rushed. It is just so insanely rushed. I mean, you saw all the stuff. We sat here after we recorded our last episode and watched some of the review footage that just dropped right after we recorded, and it was rough.
And it
And
got
my
even worse
experience,
when the game came out
yeah,
from
like
some people.
for so what it seems like is that if you're playing off an SD card, you have much worse issues than if you are playing off a download you installed to the internal storage or off of a physical cart. So all the reviewers had such terrible experiences because they were sent download
It's
codes
codes.
when the
And I
physical
mean,
version doesn't have as many issues.
and the Switch's internal memory is not very big, so the odds of you
Nope.
playing it off the SD card are relatively high.
Yeah. Like the slowdown, like that Psyduck video of like where it is like chugging at like literally like 1 frame a second as you
Yeah,
catch that Psyduck. I've had nothing like that. I've had the frame rate is bad, right? Like I'd say it runs probably at around 20 frames a second pretty much always. So it
that's
is
not
not
great.
it is
That's
not good.
like sloshing through things.
The pop in is egregious. Like you will run into a Pokemon and trigger a wild fight of a Pokemon that you couldn't even see because it hadn't popped in yet. Like the pop in is atrocious, then the frame rate is terrible, and the world overall is just ugly. Like it's not a pretty world. Um, I thought that Arceus had performance issues when that came out this year, and that was kind of the general consensus was, wow, this could have used another 6 to 10 months in the cooker. I played some Arceus this week just to kind of compare the two games, and it looks like freaking God of War Ragnarok next to Scarlet and Violet. Like it looks, I'm like, wow, it runs at a smooth frame rate. It looks gorgeous. I like the areas more. Um, and that game isn't the prettiest game around, right? So that
No,
should tell you a little more about what Scarlet looks like. Like it is ugly. Um,
I think it
it
just helps
does
for
not look
Arceus that
good.
it was more stylized. When you
Hmm.
use the art style that Arceus did, kind of like Breath of the Wild, you can hide a lot of blemishes, and I mean you'll see them from time to time. You'll get to certain areas like, well, that don't look good. That does not look good at all.
Yeah.
But overall, it kind of hides a lot of those. I feel like with Scarlet and Violet, from what I saw in videos, the art style just does not do this game any favors in regards to how it
Mm-mm.
looks.
No, no, it just doesn't look good. And yeah, the open world, I kind of felt this the whole way. It was like, does Pokemon need an open world? And the answer is no. Like it doesn't. What it needs is something in between. I think Arceus is honestly, we're not hardcore Pokemon fans are like Arceus isn't the direction the main series should go. But for people like us, I'm like, it is so much better to me than anything else in the Pokemon series. Like I think it's probably my favorite Pokemon game of all time, legitimately. Like, I haven't even finished it yet because I'm just trying to catch everything before I finish it. I played it for like over 30 hours, haven't finished it yet. Um, this game, it has this open world, but it just doesn't really work for the level scaling issues, which I said. And then the exploration isn't really super great. There's no like landmarks that super stick out in your brain like, oh, this was a cool area when I came across this, because it's mostly just like grasslands or caves or desert
Or
or
3 FPS
cliffs.
windmill.
Yeah, yes, or the 3 FPS windmill. Like it's when I think of my favorite open world games, there's always like that. You come over this hill moment and you see just this thing you didn't expect to see. And there's really not any of that in Pokemon. It's all a pretty by the numbers region. Haven't seen all of it yet. There's a large chunk of the map I haven't explored, so that could change. But I've seen about half of the map and it has not really impressed me. Like I said, I applaud them for going for something a little bit more ambitious, but I just think for Pokemon, I think the direction of the series shouldn't be open world. Not every dang series needs to be open world. I'm so exhausted of it, honestly. Like, I think about like Dragon Quest 11, which is not open world, but has beautiful wide areas for you to explore, items tucked away in corners, tough enemies roaming the overworld that you can fight, but it's still on a linear path. That to me is the future of what Pokemon should strive for in the traditional series, because we've never really had that. Like you look at Sword and Shield, it is the most linear game ever with like nothing to explore. It is a straight path and the wild area, and that's it. And then you jump to this, which is like too open for me for a turn-based JRPG. So I think they're going to continue down this road, but I'd like to see them try and emulate something like Dragon Quest, which is these wide, beautiful areas, but still a linear path. Because going to the gyms in any order doesn't make sense when the gyms don't scale. It just doesn't. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. It says you can do any of these challenges at any time. I guess you said it here that that doesn't work very well. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
if you're over leveled, then you'll just plow through everything in the sense that you can complete the challenges at any point. But
Yeah.
in terms of it being an enjoyable experience, maybe not.
Yeah. And my favorite part about this game has been the catching. I've enjoyed filling out the Pokedex, like I said. It is fun to enter a new area, which is what they're calling routes now. I think they're just called areas, and see the new Pokemon running around and engage them and catch them. But everything else to me kind of feels like I don't really want to do that. I just want to catch. And this game doesn't do catching as well as a game that came out earlier this year does. So it's like, well, what is this game really doing? So, yeah, I am enjoying playing through it. I do think it's fun. I think that the Pokedex is really, really strong. I love a lot of the returning Pokemon they picked to come back. I feel like earlier gens have had too much reliance on Gen 1 and 2. And now Gen 3 and 4, which are my two I have the most nostalgia for, are starting to kind of be the thing that a lot of fans have nostalgia for. And there's a lot of Pokemon from Gen 3 and 4 in this. And then the new Pokemon are largely very strong, like much stronger than the last two generations, I would say. Like much better designs. I like a lot of the evolutions. Pokemon evolve in very strange ways that you have to figure out, which is fun again. So that's a strong point of it. The Pokemon are the best looking thing in this game. Like they look good. The Pokemon models look good. They're just running around this drab, poorly running world. Like they look good. Like there's a Gyarados swimming in the ocean. That looks cool. Psyducks walking around that are cool. Pokemon hanging from trees. That's cool. But it just doesn't run well. But they look good. So there is positive here. It's just like I feel like I said it when these games were announced. You Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were clearly supposed to come out earlier than they did a year ago. They were supposed to come out probably in the summer and were delayed. And then Arceus, I'm sure internally was supposed to be the November game last year. I wish they would have just said Arceus. I wish Arceus had come out now, because that game with like another 10 months of polish, Kev, I think you and I'd be sitting here right now and talking about it as a legitimate like game of the year contender, because Arceus was already really
It's
good and
quite
it could have
good.
had
Yeah.
like another half a year to bake and be even better. And then this could have had a full extra year and come out next November. It'd be a different story. But you released Arceus, which already wasn't up to a lot of people's technical standards. And then you release this, and it's like, man, when's it going to stop? Like, they need to scale back. They need to either outsource more of these other games to other studios, like they did with Diamond and Pearl, which you said didn't work out too well. And a lot of people agree, or you need to scale back the games themselves and say, yeah, we're not going open world. We're toning back what we're trying here, because this expectation to crank out an open world game pretty much every year now, it's just not sustainable. And this game proved it on their first try.
I mean, these games are just getting bigger. When you're talking about just doing handheld titles, it makes a little bit more sense to be able to pump them out because they're simpler to make than a full console game. And
Yep.
2+ games a year is crazy.
They didn't even make the jump to 3DS that well. Like that's where Pokemon started to go downhill. Was the 3DS era. It was like that wasn't even HD. It was just 3D models, and it already wasn't working. Yeah.
Let's get into some of the new features of this game. How is the terastalizing in comparison to some of the other, mega evolutions or the Dynamaxing, the one-offs that Pokemon throws in there every single gen? How is this in comparison to those ones of past games?
I'd say it's the best one, right? They started adding these gimmicks in Gen 6 with Megas, then Z moves, and then Dynamaxing, and now this. And this makes the most meaningful changes to battle. And I'm kind of trying to look ahead at like the competitive scene. This is going to make a huge difference in the competitive scene. Terastalizing is very cool. A lot of the game and what I've heard of the end game revolves around getting Pokemon with unique Terra types or altering the Terra types of the Pokemon you already have. And it is cool because it changes your Pokemon's defense type. So you can basically, it powers up, like if you have a flying Terra type Pokemon, when you Terrastalize it, it boosts the power of flying type moves for that Pokemon and changes their defense type to flying. So it's a big alteration of what that Pokemon is, and it is very cool. Um, it also is nerfed a little bit. You can only Terastalize one time, not even per battle. When you Terastalize once, you have to go back to the Pokemon Center, and then when you heal, it also recharges your Terra Orb. So it is way better than just Mega Evolution was once per battle. All these things were once per battle. It's just like you hit it, you watch the 15-second cutscene, and then it's an instant win button. This is like, you got to wait till you're in a tough spot to use this thing, or you got to hike it back to a Pokemon Center. So that's balanced much better. And I just like the look of it. I like the chandeliers, the diamonds. They're creative. So that's something I'm positive on. I think this is the best mechanic they've introduced so far, and I think it's going to have a huge impact on the competitive battling scene.
Hopefully it sticks around instead of just
I
getting
know.
retired and then something
Yeah.
new, or because that's how they do it every single
Yeah.
gen. They're like, here's this cool thing, I guess.
Mhm.
Sometimes not. We're
Even if
just
they
gonna
like change it from like the Terra type or like the jewel look, like the chandelier type thing, keep like the gameplay mechanic, I
right.
think. Yeah.
Because yeah, this seems like it works way better than any of the previous ones, just on a
Yeah.
gameplay standpoint.
Yeah.
How about the what the is it called Let's Go feature or
Yeah.
no?
It's called Let's Go.
So we got the
It's
Let's Go
confusing.
feature, and yeah, I'm thinking like Let's Go. No, that was Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. No, that can't be
Yeah.
right, but it is. And that whole thing with the auto battling and either doing that in the open world or when you're doing those bases. How are those? The bases one did not look good to me when it was getting shown off.
It's not good. The Team Star bases, it is super useless. It is just mash R to win basically in those. There's not much strategy involved. It's fine. It's different. It only takes a couple minutes. Kind of like what I said with some things about Sonic. It's mind-numbingly easy, but that's better than if it was like really impossibly hard to get
True.
past. So it's fine. It's okay. But then I don't use the Let's Go much in the overworld. Um, the main way to do it is to get the main reason to do it is because if your Pokemon wins a Let's Go battle, they'll earn materials, which you can then take to the TM machine where you craft TMs. I haven't had to craft a bunch of TMs because my Pokemon are so OP. Like there's cool systems here. There's good ideas here. The balance is just all out of whack, which it is their first try. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass. Like it is their first attempt at doing this. So the Let's Go thing, yeah, it's not super necessary. I know a couple of people I've talked to that played this are like, oh, really? I use that all the time, but I don't. I don't need a reason to give my Pokemon even more easy chances for experience than they already have. So I haven't used it very much.
Okay. Have you made a sandwich or is that
I haven't had one picnic.
nope?
No. So yeah, they have these huge towns. Like the main town is called Mesagoza and it's enormous and it has probably 30 shops that you can go into, but there's like four variations of what shop it is. So
Do they
there's
all have
30
the
shops.
same
Yes, most of them
inventories?
do. So it's like,
Uh,
oh, go into this shop and then it's the same stuff that they sell at the other store and it's sandwich ingredients, but again, that's a way to buff your Pokemon and like earn more EXP. There's some good sandwiches, like there's sandwiches for breeding, like oh, you're more likely to get an egg type or something like that. So there are good ones, but I haven't really delved into it.
yeah. Doesn't seem like it's very
Yeah,
necessary on a casual run through.
yeah, yeah. I do like the bike Pokemon a lot. I have
Oh
Koraidon, the
yeah.
red one with Scarlet. It is fun to ride around. Yeah, he looks a little dorky, running on all fours when he
Yeah.
has two wheels, but it's fun. Uh, they're my favorite legendaries in a while. I think it's cool that they're a part of the story from the beginning and they actually have characterization. Like the have you seen like How to Train Your Dragon? Have you seen any of those
Saw the first
movies?
one.
Yeah, these Pokemon are like toothless. Like the main dragon from those is kind of how they're characterized, and they're involved in story cutscenes. Some of the mystery is actually surrounding them, and it works well. Like it's fun that that's kind of a cool shakeup. Usually the legendary shows up at the very end and you catch it with your one master ball and that's it. But to have them as a bike the whole time is super unique and it does make this game feel different. So I do like that.
Are you able to battle with them, or is that something you only
No,
unlock later?
I think you'll unlock it at the end. Yeah, I think
Okay.
they'll join your
So
party at the
like a
end.
regular legendary, but you can use them in
Mhm.
the open world
Yeah,
from the beginning.
and so like the progression, I'm kind of I'm torn on parts of it. A lot of the progression I think is cool. So right there's the three main paths, right? The gyms, the team star, and the legend, the Titans. When you complete a gym, just like always, you can then catch higher level Pokemon and they will listen to you. Then with the team star path, you can craft more types of TMs for each one that you complete. And then for the path of legends, the Titans, your legendary unlocks a new movement option after completing each one of those. So it's like, oh, a jump. Now it's a high jump. Now you can swim and so on. So
Okay.
the point of completing these is you get more ways to make moves, more ways to traverse, and then you can catch stronger Pokemon. I think it's a smart idea, but the one that I have beef with specifically is the gym one because it's like another concept that is directly working against the concept of an open world. Say if you want to go to the very northern point of the map from the start and catch a level 60 Pokemon, you then can't use it until you beat like 6 gyms. So it's like, what was the point of doing that? And in a game that, in a lot of ways, is copying kind of the post Breath of the Wild open world formula, it's like in Breath of the Wild, if you killed a Lionel that was way stronger than you, and then you couldn't use the weapon, it dropped. It's like, what is the point of doing that then? If you can't use the reward you got, if you go on this journey to catch this thing, and then it's like, oh, they're not listening to you, it's like, well, what was the point of that? I might as well just go in the linear circle like I've done in every region for the last 20 years. So, yeah, that's something I struggle with.
Yeah, that one's kind of tough. With Breath of the Wild, the with the weapon breakage, I feel like that's less of an issue. Yeah, it's definitely overpowered for what it is, but you only get so much of it, so you kind of have to be a little bit,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
got to pick your battles with that. Whereas here, if you caught a level 60 and brought it back, you could just steamroll everything from the start
Hmm.
and not have any worries. Nothing is going to stand in your
Yeah.
way. But there probably needs to be some form of middle ground, not just either A, it listens to you and you steamroll through the whole game, or B, it won't listen to you and you can't use it for a long time. I
Yeah.
don't know what that is exactly, but there's probably got to be a middle ground if they're going to continue with this design of open world and
Yeah.
say that you can do anything in any order that you want.
Hmm. Which just not every game needs that. I've been saying that on the show for years. Not every game needs to be open world. I think this is a franchise that doesn't. Like, I loved the open area Monster Hunter like form. That's the two takes this year. We had a very Monster Hunter like take with Arceus, and now a very Breath of the Wild take with this. And I thought one worked way better than the other, just for what Pokemon is.
Yeah, so last thing on this, where do you want the series to go from here? Because I think they're going to continue on with the main series with a lot of the traditional tropes. I think that's I doubt that's going to change. Hopefully,
Yeah.
Legends Arceus will continue on somehow in its own kind of separate series. But where do you want, in that world where those two series are separate? Where do you want to see this main series go to make it better than what Scarlet and Violet are?
I have a wish list that feels like it's never going to happen. I think it's unrealistic. I want them to not crank out a new game every year, which I don't think is going to happen. I think that
Because
machine will continue.
they're breaking records every year, no matter what they do.
It's the fastest selling Nintendo game of all time, which is crazy to me. But yeah, um, so I want them to stop doing that, or scale back, or divvy up the work with other studios, like I talked about. I think if they want to continue, I'm going down the road if they're going to continue the open world, because what I truly want, like I said, is like a Dragon Quest type game with Pokemon, but that's, yeah, not going to happen. So if they're going to continue with this open world, they need level scaling. They need some sort of challenge scaling. Like, maybe the 8 gyms need to have 8 different teams, depending if you go there first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, or eighth. And they're like, oh, I see you have 3 badges. Let me make this my team to match your skill
Right.
level. But right now, it's like I fought a gym that was pretty challenging for me, and then I went to the next one, and it had 3 Pokemon, and I one shot literally all of them. It's like, well, what was that? Like, are you just that bad at being a gym leader? Like, what's your problem? Yeah. So they need some sort of level scaling.
I think
They
that'd be clever too, because then, depending on how, I was saying this before the game came out, depending on how you challenge the different gyms, you face a different set of Pokemon, and then you can either talk to friends or look up things online and be like, oh, okay, so if I
or
fought them
replay
at
the
a
game.
different point, yeah, you would have a completely different experience. That gym is completely different.
Yeah.
And kind of,
Yeah.
I assume it'd be how the anime works too. I feel like that's kind of how they set it up in that universe as well. I think it would work.
Yeah, it makes a lot more thematic sense. Another thing this game does wrong is that they would need to fix is you start in the main town, right? That so the region is a circle. This is a coaster I have. If you're
Thanks
watching the
for the
video version.
visual aid.
And this entire middle area is covered by clouds. It's the end game area that I haven't unlocked yet. The entire center circle of the map. So the open world is like a donut with a giant hole in the middle that you can't go in. And then you start at the bottom of the donut, and they're like, okay, do you want to go left or right? And then you enter the open world. And then the way that the objectives are scattered is like gym, Titan, base, gym, Titan, in a circle around the donut. And for the first 10 hours of this game, I was like, this doesn't even matter that it's an open world because I went right. So I'm in the bottom corner and I went to a gym and then a Titan and then a gym and then a base. And I was just working my way around the region like you do in any Pokemon game. And it's like, I feel like for an open world game like this, you need to start like in the middle of the map. And then you have all directions to you. And not necessarily exactly the middle, but like you start at basically the southern point in Scarlet and Violet. And it's like, it doesn't encourage exploration when there's this giant crater you can't go to. And I know that's where the end game takes place, but the open world design just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't work. It's like they really wanted to do it, and then there's old tropes from the old games, like gyms being really 1 through 8 that they didn't think about enough, and the level scaling doesn't exist, and the design of actually navigating through doesn't make sense. It's not a good game, but I'm having a good time with it.
That seems to be a consensus from some people.
Yeah,
I forgot the gym challenges with the
they
how are any
suck.
of those? Yeah. Are they
It's
bad?
just like the Sun and Moon trials. They're not
Oh,
good. Yeah.
collect all
I
the
miss
sunflora,
the days of like navigating like a cool puzzle in the gym from the DS and Game Boy
the
days.
warp
That was more fun.
panels, and oh god.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hate Sword. It is one of my least favorite games of all time. I like this a heck of a lot more than that, even if in a lot of ways I think it's a more poorly made game. Like the design, but it's like I would rather play a technically flawed, ambitious game than just the most paint by numbers linear garbage I've ever seen from Sword. So I don't regret buying this, right? Like you were like surprised I was picking this up. I'm having a good time. It's been fun to play with my girlfriend. She really likes it. Like she loves catching Pokemon. She's gonna play Arceus when she finishes this one because she's like, I don't really care about the gym battles or the story. I just want to catch Pokemon. I'm like, well, I have a game for you.
They made one for you.
So it's been a fun experience, but like 5 hours in, I texted you. I was like, "This is the best Pokemon in a long time." And the more I played, and the more I've critically thought about this game and talked about it, I'm like, "This is a pretty poorly designed game. Like, it just doesn't work in a lot of ways, both technically and design wise. But it is fun. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying playing it. I'm gonna finish it. It's just I wouldn't recommend it, I guess is what I'd say. I would not recommend this game. I would recommend Arceus to any lapsed Pokemon fan. This game, I would be like, Arceus is just better. It's just so much better.
Okay.
Those are my thoughts.
All right. Well, I'll be
Yeah.
curious to see if anything changes at all as you make your way to the end game. See that center part of the map that you haven't seen yet, and
hmm
whatever awaits at the end.
Did you hear about what's broken right now in the battle stadium?
Oh, I think I saw a tweet about it, but I've been kind of busy, so I didn't have a chance to look into it. It was something like, oh, you could like one shot things, or like I don't know the
Okay,
way
so
that you
here it
entered
is.
battle. You just
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
basically, I learned this. I learned a lot about this. Is that Pokemon battles at the start of each one generates a random seed. So, like Minecraft, each world has a seed that determines what that world looks like, right? Well, each Pokemon battle generates a RNG seed that determines how that battle will play out. And basically, it's like this is super rudimentary, not how it all actually works, but it's like, oh, in this battle, the first attack is going to miss, the second attack will be critical, the third attack will hit normal, right? Like that. That's the basic layout. Like it's all predetermined beforehand. What kind of seed you're going to get in the battle stadium, which is where the ranked games exist
Oh
where
no.
competitive tournaments take place for this for Pokemon online, where the most hardcore audience cares about, it is currently broken that every battle that you play in the battle stadium generates the same seed. So people figured that out. Basically, this one player figured it out by 14 battles in a row. They led off the battle with a attack with 90% accuracy chance, and it missed all 14 times, which is a 1 in 100 trillion chance of that happening. So they were like, there's something going on. And then eventually this led people to figure out that on like the fourth move of the battle, if you use a one-hit KO move, which has like a 5% accuracy chance, it hits 100% of the time.
I saw that. Yeah, that you
So
can
it's broken.
determine when the one hit
It
kills
is
will work.
that is more egregious than any of the technical problems like frame rate, because it's like that directly impacts like the competitive integrity of this
Ranked,
game
yeah.
in ranked mode. Yeah, there is a software patch coming out for Pokemon today actually, so maybe that will be fixed even by the time this episode's up.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Just shut off the ranked mode for a little bit until that gets fixed.
Yeah. So what
Oh
do you think?
god.
Have you gonna play this game?
Not for a while.
Yeah.
I have I have so much else to play. Bought a couple more games.
Ooh,
Ghost of Tsushima has been purchased.
nice,
That goes
nice.
on the back burner because Xenoblade's what I'm playing, and I'm
Yep.
not close to finishing that. It just adds on. I'd like to play it at some point. It seems like something that at the very least I would have an
It's
enjoyable enough
interesting. Yeah.
time with.
Yeah.
Yeah, which like you said, if you're having fun with it, that's more important than if and the game doesn't completely break and you lose your save data or something really egregious happens. As long as that doesn't happen and the game's fun, I feel like that's more important than most other things.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll have time for it for a little while.
Yeah, I think that you would definitely get some value out of it. It's just like Arceus, I think for both you and me, bought a lot of goodwill for the franchise, and this kind of got rid of a lot of it for me. Where I was like, the main series is just never going to be what I want it to be. Honestly, like if I had to put my entire thoughts into this into one sentence, it would be I hope the Legends spin-off series continues. Like that's what I want. I will continue to play that. I'll buy all those day one. I think that game is awesome. But the mainline series just maybe isn't really it right now. I'm curious to see where they go next, because there's a lot they could improve upon. Where a sequel to this could be very good, but this is not it. This is not it yet.
Well, you won't have to wait very long for the next iteration. I'm sure it'll be here
No.
before you know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever the ultra version of this is, if they go back to the third version, whatever it turns out to be,
Mhm.
I'm sure that that's going to be. But by the time I have time to get around to playing this, that version could already either be out or on its way out.
Yeah. It'll probably be DLC like they did for Sword and
Oh,
Shield, I
that's
would
true.
guess. Yeah. But maybe they'll fix the performance along the way. But honestly, for me, the underlying issues of its design are worse than the performance to me. Like that's something that just can't really be fixed. You have to wait for a new game for that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but it's fine. I think like 6 out of 10. Like it's okay. 60. Yeah,
What was Sword and Shield
feels
for
about right.
you?
Like a 40. I hate that game. Yeah, yeah.
All right. You want to talk about some Mario before we wrap up? It's a shorter episode this
Sure.
week.
Yeah.
So we got a second Mario movie trailer. We got to look at some more of the characters. We got Luigi, we got Donkey Kong, we got Princess Peach in there. They're showing off a lot of references to Mario's history. Mario Kart was very front and center in that.
Yeah.
Um, what did you think of some of the new cast that's been shown off? And are you getting more excited from it after this trailer?
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about this movie. I loved this trailer. I genius call to kind of make Luigi the one who was kidnapped and needs rescuing, and Peach and Mario are working together to do it. I think that's a really cool move that I didn't really expect. Because, like, with Miyamoto's involvement, I was like, well, is Peach just going to be the traditional damsel in distress? But having her, Toad, and Mario appear to be kind of the main three of the movie, I think was a smart call. And Luigi, he's such a scaredy cat and so wacky that his scene with Bowser getting like the hair of his mustache ripped off and he screams,
Yeah.
that was funny. Like, I think those dynamics are fresher, like of Mario and Peach together and then Luigi and Bowser together. That's fresher than just Bowser, Peach, and Mario and Luigi. So I'm
Because we
excited
haven't
about
really
that.
had that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an entirely new thing, and I think Luigi's personality will carry that really far. I
Mhm.
think he works really well in that role.
I really like his voice. I really like how Luigi sounds and in the
Charlie Day
trailers
was
that I've
a
seen.
really good casting
Yeah.
for that.
I love all the casting still except Mario, and I felt the same in this trailer.
Yep, I was gonna say the same thing, and it was funny because he kind of has like the first and last line of this trailer, and I thought both of them weren't very good.
When his
The
Wahoo
lets it
is
go, the
terrible.
Wahoo was so bad.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Like it was,
Yeah.
there was no energy in that.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, but everything else is great. I like DK's design. They even talked in the direct a little bit about his redesign and how he looks a little more closer to like the sprite from the Donkey Kong arcade game. I think he looks cool. Uh, I liked seeing him beat up Mario. I liked the little obstacle course Mario went on with all the hazards from the 2D games. The cheap on the bridge is a nice reference to Super Mario Brothers. Like awesome trailer. The Tanuki suit, the fire flower. This
Yep.
is just packed with stuff.
I'm just hoping that it all kind of comes together cohesively, because if it does and they're able to fit all these references in and it works, it'll be really good. But
Hmm.
I feel like there are many movies out there that are based on pre-existing properties that kind of take all of these references in, and they don't, they're just there to be like, "Hey, remember that?" Or like, "Hey, we're racing
Yeah,
on Rainbow Road. Isn't that cool?" And then we
yeah.
move on. Like I hope that with a lot of these references, they make sense in the context of the entire movie instead of just being used as, kind of that trailer fodder of
Yep.
you dump it in the trailer, you're like, wow, that was really cool. And then you watch it in the movie and it doesn't really work as well as it did in the trailer. But if
Yeah.
it does, I think it'll be really good because there was a lot of really cool little uh either little bits of references or even some of the bigger stuff too that I'm hoping will kind of stick the landing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I kind of at the point where I've seen enough. Like I feel like this trailer dumped a lot on us of stuff that would have been cool to just see in the movie. And we're still like 4 months out. So we still will probably see stuff for this thing before it's here. But yeah, no, I'm optimistic about it. I think that it looks good. It could look a lot worse than it does, but I think that it's looking
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one, this trailer gave me more hype than the previous trailer. You see more of the cast, you see how their voices work, how the character dynamics work, and I think it kind of, you get a better picture of what the movie's actually going to be with the
Yeah.
character dynamics, and I think that got me more excited for its eventual release.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll see it at the same time as you. I haven't looked to see if the Japan release is day and
I think
date or
it's coming
not.
out like 2 weeks after in Japan. It's very close.
Okay,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
that's good.
Or
Not
earlier. I
half a
think they're like,
year.
yeah, they're 2 weeks apart.
Yeah, because Sonic and Sonic 2 were terrible. I don't know
Yep.
why they were so far removed from the US release dates.
It's out
But
April 7th in the US and April 28th in Japan. So like 3 weeks.
okay, that's doable.
3 weeks after. Yeah.
That's doable. So I'll have to dodge spoilers for a couple of weeks, not
Yeah.
half a year. I can do
I'll
that.
I'll be in Japan when it comes out over there, having just seen it in America.
Oh, you can come watch it with me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Hmm.
think that's going to about do it for this episode. Shorter one this week. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I bought Cursed to Golf on the Black Friday sale on
Ooh,
the Switch
nice.
eShop. Yep, I played 3 levels of it. Very good. Really,
Oh,
really
all
good.
right.
Yeah, it's cool. Way better than Switch Sports Golf, which I also played this week.
Oh, you did.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I tried it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was fine. It was
Golf?
Wii Sports Golf.
I didn't think you would pick that thing back up.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah.
Golf
But
drew you back in.
I'm just waiting for a sports story. We, as we're recording this, it just crossed into December 1
I've been in
over here.
December for
You're
a
in
day
December 1.
already.
So we are on sports story high alert. It could drop at literally any moment.
Yeah.
Also, I
I-
meant to ask you, I thought of this earlier today. Do you think it's going to be at the Game Awards and it's out now?
Ooh.
Because I
They
could see
could.
that. Because why wouldn't they give a date otherwise if it wasn't going to be some sort of shadow drop? And then I was like, Nintendo's not going to have another event. The only thing in
Yeah.
December is like the Game Awards. Like, I could see it being there and like, and it's out tonight.
I guess I don't traditionally think of of something like Sports Story as a Game Awards item.
No, you think of gray shooters.
But it
Yeah,
could. I feel like the only two options would be either that or it's going to be something on Twitter, right? Twitter
yeah,
or YouTube. Either one, it's here's the launch trailer or out now. That's kind of it.
yeah.
It
I
still
don't know.
baffles me that we didn't get a that
Yeah.
we didn't get a date a month away.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It could be any day.
Any day, starting
So,
now.
so excited. Anything else you picked up on Black Friday, or was Curse to Golf
Ooh,
it?
I think that was it. I tried to restrain myself this year because there's a lot of games coming out I want to play, and
Yeah,
you know how Black Friday can be. You pick up a game and then never play it. So I think that
done
was all
that.
I bought. That was all I got. Oh, and Fall Guys season 3 is out, and it's great. And
Oh yeah.
Splatoon 3 second season is out, and it's also great. There's a lot
Where
going
do you
on.
have time for any of this
I
stuff?
know, seriously. And then there's Xenoblade.
Is
Still
that
out
is
there.
that just gonna die, or are you
Dude,
gonna
I don't know
actually go back
because
to it?
these Fire Emblem trailers look really good. Looks
And
really,
you said
really,
you weren't
really
gonna
good.
drop Xenoblade, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought some stuff. Ghost, like I mentioned earlier. I picked up the Kaito DLC. It was finally on sale on the Japanese PlayStation Store because if you
Nice.
have the physical version from one region, the DLC has to be from the same region. So that's fun.
Did you buy Sonic?
No,
Okay, it was so cheap.
it's 30, right? Or
Yeah,
is it lower than that?
35 on PS5. 35 on
35 on
PS5. Yeah.
PS5. Yeah, I think that's gonna be $20 at some point,
Yeah.
and I know that by the time I get around to it, it would be at that point where it's
Yep.
$20. So I may as well. I may as well just wait
Yeah,
on
and then
that.
more DLC will be out. The longer you
Yeah,
wait, the more
and then
stuff
I'll
will
just
just be
have
in
more
there.
stuff to do. I'll
Yep.
get to celebrate Sonic's birthday with him. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
Yep.
Okay, that's going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. On YouTube at Ode to Games has the video version of the podcast. So if you want to see Logan's coaster and an analogy for how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet work, you can find that at Ode to Games on YouTube every single week. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.